Story 1. Well, if by revenge you mean not taking her back when she was completely sure I would kiss the floor she walks on, then I can tell you it felt great. Story 2. I didn't succeed in getting revenge, I think. I was trying to do so in indirect, passive-aggressive ways. My attempts felt good in a dark sort of way in the moment but caused crushing guilt afterward. This was when I was 14 and my classmates were bullying me. Eventually, I got tired of revenge and guilt and snapped at my bullies one day. It was a direct confrontational fight with an anger that said I didn't care if I got hurt, but they definitely would. I have very rarely felt that much rage again. The bullying stopped, and I became a loner for a few weeks until the year ended. Then I changed schools and never looked back. My classmates later told me in university that I had a terrible reputation after I snapped, which is why no one bullied me after that. They had never seen anyone get that angry. Story 3. Grasping a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone will only leave you with a burned hand. Many years ago, I was severely betrayed by a woman who cheated on me and broke my heart. It took 4 years to get through the pain and a few more to start trusting again. Today, I am healthier, stronger, more successful, and have a better circle of friends than I have ever had. None of what she did affects me anymore. The best revenge is to let go and focus on yourself. Anything else means you are still being controlled by someone else. Rise above. Story 4. I'm not someone who seeks revenge, but there is one woman I truly despise. My ex-girlfriend, whom I was with for 5 years. She brought a child into my life, a boy I loved as my own. While I was away on a trip with him, she said she had to work. She cheated on me. Afterward, she completely cut me out of his life. She told me I was not good for him, saying all sorts of things to justify it. One day, when he was 8, he showed up at my door, saying he missed me. He also told me that she had been saying things about me that were not true, just to make herself look better for leaving. I will never forget the moment I called her while he was crying and begging in the background, saying he did not want to be with her and wanted to stay with me. That phone call felt like my personal moment of justice. I still remember it vividly. I have not seen him since. Damn. Story 5. Men, how did it feel to get revenge? 90% of the people answering said they did not get any revenge and proceeded to say it is wrong. Stop letting people walk all over you. They messed with you, and they would probably mess with you again because you did not do anything about it. Story 6. It is very hard for a man to get revenge on a girl these days. They can literally do everything wrong and still win the grand prize in the end. Story 7. Well, it was not a woman but a man who had crossed me quite badly. In fact, I have taken the time and effort for proper revenge on 3 occasions in my life, but none of them were against women, so I am not sure this counts for this thread. Felt good and still feels good. I had to come to terms with the reality that vengeance is my favorite sin. Story 8. I lived my best life. Revenge comes from a dark place. It is best to forget it. Now, schadenfreude is different. Watching a cheating ex make a disaster of their life gives a sense of relief mixed with schadenfreude. Story 9. Given that I had to do nothing but continue forward while they did not, it gave me a chuckle and some brief schadenfreude. Ultimately, I am not sure whether that really qualifies as revenge, and I am not interested or egotistically invested enough in their lives to care about their failure. I just did my best and moved on. They either did the same or did not, with worse results. That is unfortunate for them. Life would not have been any different if they had done well for themselves. Times would have been easier for me back then without the animosity that was created. But oh well. Story 10. Didn't feel like revenge. Just a very painful victory and a lot of pity, honestly. What happened? My ex-wife left me and the children for her lover, a man from her past. Fast forward 2 years later, my current partner is not only a complete upgrade, she's a better fit for me overall. The ex-wife visits our place every week to pick up the kids and spend time with them. She has grown quite close to my partner, sharing her life troubles. Still the same issues, no growth, no introspection. My current partner, being the mature, stable person that she is, gives her advice on how to move on. She's still stuck in the past, forever reminiscing about the time when she was once my wife and had my full attention and love. She no longer has either, and she has spiraled hard. Revenge no longer feels necessary. I won convincingly, crushed it even. It's not a joke how much my life has significantly improved since she left. My partner is privileged beyond imaginable belief, and she's humble, caring, and affectionate towards me and my kids. So yeah, what else could a man dream of after a bitter divorce and betrayal? Sometimes I catch myself being internally mad at my ex for making me prove myself. The feeling is like, you tested me in this manner, and now I've gone and built something so significant, you can't ignore it. Ultimate rub in my ex's face, that's for sure. Story 11. Revenge is best served cold. That being said, I have never gotten revenge on a woman. I have never felt that need. But other men? Absolute satisfaction multiplied by 100,000. Story 12. It felt good. But I do not buy into the high road nonsense that people preach. You get me, and I am going to get you. Even if it takes a decade. I do not care. Story 13. Sweet and sour. Good, you made her pay. Bad. I believe it is better to remove them from your life and focus on what makes you happy. So, in my humble opinion, take your revenge if you want, and it takes a few minutes, but do not go overboard and focus on that. Story 14. Depends on the revenge. For me, success is the best revenge, and I have done it many times, proving someone so wrong. This is beautiful. The last girl was not happy that I did not finish school. She graduated as a pharmacist and works at a hospital. At the time, I was a video game tester. The money was not great, especially after COVID-19 and the inflation that happened here in Poland. She kept pushing me to finish high school, but I did not really like the idea, or more precisely, I did not like being told what to do. 3 months after we decided to split for other reasons as well, I got a new job. I am in pharmaceutical marketing right now and still have not finished school. I see that as a great win for me. She studied for a long time to get into pharmacy. Meanwhile, I am the one creating all the instructions and promotional materials for the drugs that she reads every day. Story 15. This one is mild, so calling it revenge is debatable. There was a popular kid in my middle school who wouldn't stop sending his friends after me. Looking back, I'd say it was partly because of my race, but also because I was a nerdy kid. One day I was in a bad mood and he thought it would be a good idea to taunt me. I finally had enough and threw him to the ground, and he got in trouble for it. I still feel somewhat proud of myself for that. In many cases, being the better person isn't as satisfying as returning the favor. Story 16. Sweet and awesome at the time, even better in hindsight. Revenge and schadenfreude are the two most underrated things in existence. Story 17. Felt great, I would do it again in a heartbeat. The fact that I had the willing assistance of someone close to my nemesis made it all the more satisfying. Story 18. Fantastic, no regrets. I think there are different types of revenge, but if it is all-consuming bitterness-filled revenge, then that is no good. Addressing someone for doing you wrong and giving it no other thought than what occurred in the moment is amazing and deeply satisfying. Story 19. Sometimes I regret it. Sometimes I do not. It mainly depends on whether it was spontaneous or planned over a period of time. Story 20. There are different kinds of revenge. A low-level manager at work bent the rules in many ways to do favors for himself and friends, at the expense of everyone else. He gave them all the available overtime and excluded everyone else in the department. I told him that he couldn't do that and that I expected an equitable share of the available overtime. He scoffed and said, "Too bad," claiming that he and his friends deserved it because they were the most senior. That's not how it works at my employer. I went to the union. They escalated it to human resources. They got me a meeting with his boss, who supported him and said there was nothing he could do because of seniority. I asked if he thought the vice president of human resources would agree. He panicked and shouted, "You talked to the vice president?" I hadn't, but I asked if he was ordering me not to talk to human resources. He backed down, played it straight, and his subordinate came to my office and said I ruined their good deal. Long story short, the union was so impressed that I got things sorted out that I became a high-ranking officer. The low-level manager had to come to me a couple of years later to get his pay sorted. I just took a deep breath, quietly enjoyed the irony, and got him the money he was due. Story 21. My ex-wife was or still is a very toxic narcissist. The one thing they cannot do without is attention through manipulation. They do not care about you. They care about how they control you. My best revenge was the day I walked out. At first, she thought it would never happen. When it did, she tried gaslighting me. I stonewalled her with short, monotone responses. She expected to get another reaction from me, but that did not happen. I communicated only when absolutely necessary. Once I was no longer required to respond, I completely cut her out of my life. I blocked her on all social media platforms, blocked her number, and changed the locks on the door. Any attempt she made to contact me failed. She went into a spiral and began contacting my friends and family, in some cases showing up at their workplaces. I knew she would spread lies. I let her have her way and remained silent. She went over the edge, never trying to reconcile, just wanting to regain control over me. I did not cave this time. She lost it. My revenge was essentially never saying a word and letting her self-induced narcissistic spiral destroy herself. When the dust settled, she lost some of her own friends. One kicked her out of her wedding party because she saw her toxic mission to destroy me for leaving her. She was disgusted by her behavior. Do I know or care what she is up to now? Not for a second. She will die alone and single. She is a mean person. Story 22. Felt great. I've never sought revenge on another person throughout my life. When I am wronged for these reasons, I walk away. No words, no arguments, I simply vanish. I drop and block all contact. I just had to do that. Yet when the foul deed is deliberate, I will destroy everything you have ever touched. Story 23. Someone hurt my career, and I was then given the opportunity to hurt her career. She was not a romantic partner. It felt wonderful at the time and is a warm, fuzzy memory that I enjoy reliving today. People who think revenge is not sweet certainly live in a different headspace than I do. Story 24. My success is my revenge. When someone crosses you, you build yourself into something that they cannot cross again. Chasing them down will only cause you to get lost. Story 25. She cheated on me, and now I have pending charges of criminal damage to property. I am not admitting that I did it, but her entire bedroom was destroyed and spray painted. I have no idea who the perpetrator was. Story 26. I was unduly judged by my wife's family just because I was not as religious as they were. They all believed she was fundamentally ruining her life and eternal salvation. It was almost like everyone was just waiting for our marriage to fail so they could, number one, get rid of me, and number two, confirm their belief that faith and prayers against someone actually work. My wife and I lived our best lives, doing our best and not wishing harm or strife on others. Over the years, we steadily saw my wife's siblings, cousins, and parents' lives spiral downward. We were the only stable marriage in her whole family. One brother-in-law went to prison for white-collar crime. While I like to avoid being petty, the irony did not escape me when my in-laws came to my wife and me asking for financial help so they would not lose their home. Yes, that happened. Story 27. Why is this thread so focused on women? You can get revenge on other people besides a woman. What about your boss, friends, another man, or a dog? Story 28. My best friend of 30 years hurt me deeply. I had cruel intentions, with ideas and plans filled with violence and anger. Then I realized he was a worthless person. My friendship was the best thing he had. The best thing I could do was walk away. I let go of so much anger when I let go. I drive past his rundown trailer, which his grandmother left him when she died. Every time I go to my mom's, I give my motorcycle a few extra revs on the way by. My wife is very attractive. My kids are great. He is a person who cannot pay child support. I appreciate his betrayal. It is the best revenge I have ever had. Story 29. When I was 15, there was a guy in my class who was the typical arrogant popular athlete, dumping girlfriends as a bet, being called attractive by teachers, and insulting me just because. I had been waiting, watching, always watching, for a chance to get at him. We'll call him Egghead because of the shape of his head resembling an egg. especially with the hairline he used to have. One day, an organization for helping blind people came to our school to give a presentation and some games for our class. At the end, 3 people, L, K, and R, were awarded certificates for scoring first, second, and third place in that order. It just so happened that L, K, and R were all seated in the front row. The teacher arranged our seating. And so was Egghead, who was R's desk mate. We had double desks. Later that day, our head teacher wrote in the group chat, congratulating the 3 certificate winners, and added, "This is an example of why the front row is a great place. It's where all the geniuses come from." But then, where is Egghead's certificate? After this, a small quarrel ensued in the group chat, which led to Egghead saying, "Well, actually I came second as well, so I'm better than R." R and the teacher then asked him where the certificate was to prove that, to which he replied by submitting an image of his certificate for second place. This is where I come into the picture. I found the very notion of 2 second places to be utterly absurd. It soon dawned on me that this might be my long-awaited opportunity to harm him just a little bit, as I noticed a reasonable number of anomalies. Egghead's name was written in blue, compared to the rest in green, which was the most subtle difference. Otherwise, the signature was different, and the organization's official stamp was also missing. That same evening, I told her what I noticed through text, which she found interesting. The next morning, we started our day with our head teacher, and she congratulated all 4 awardees. I had an audience with the teacher and showed her what I found. Later that day, she texted into the group chat, "But Egghead, why isn't this the same certificate? I just noticed that the signature is different and the stamp is missing. I hope it's not what I think it is." Egghead later replied, "Yes, teacher, I'm busted. I was able to forge the signature but couldn't find a stamp. No apology, just regret about not doing it well enough. I have to admit, I'm impressed that no one even suspected anything was fishy. One girl even expressed disbelief at why I would assume he'd do something like this." Seeing her angry emoji reaction to Egghead's confession was a sweet aftertaste of victory. It actually took someone actively looking out for him to catch it. This was pretty amateur document fraud. To this day, I'm not sure if he found out it was me. Story 30. Honestly, it feels great. I grew up with parents who were schemers. They stole from me, they stole from family. They were terrible people. I was 36 when my stepmother and father drove 2 states away to testify against me in a custody hearing. During the hearing, the judge asked me how much money I made the previous year, and I told her about $660,000. She asked what I would make this year, and I told her about $800,000. My stepmother was shocked. I saw pure anger, rage, and disgust on her face, knowing that I have the one thing they could never get. A similar situation happened with a high-conflict ex. My child support was being reevaluated, and we had to disclose income. She had a master's degree and made $20 an hour. I made about $750,000 the previous year and only have a high school diploma. Fast forward to now, and my ex is out there in the world, most likely struggling to pay her bills. She thinks a bachelor's degree will make her a millionaire. She will die poor. It's just who she is. She, her child, and her father are a trio of filth who will remain stains on the world until they die. They will all die in the same poverty they are in now. The best revenge is to live well. When you do, make sure you show it so clearly that they cannot ignore it. Story 31. This is not revenge, but a few years ago I found out that someone who nearly ruined my life very badly had died. It was a very ugly death. He had cancer that spread to his spine and left him paraplegic. Complications from surgery for that condition ended up killing him. Learning all this left me feeling a lot less satisfied than I thought it would be. Story 32. I let him handle his own issues. He was a workplace bully and morally bankrupt. It eventually came to light, and he was fired from his supervisor position. I now hold a position above his and am highly regarded in the company. Resolving the problems he created took some time, but that is completed as well. Story 33. It felt like one of the worst losses when she left and took our daughter. Then I got clean, got a really good job, and 7 years later, I am buying my first house. She still lives at home with her parents and is single again. Feels pretty great. Story 34. When I got revenge, I did not feel good about myself. When I let things be, even if it was unjust, it hurt, but I learned to push on. Story 35. Waste of time and effort. The best revenge is forgetting about it. Easier said than done by someone who likes to stew, like me. Story 36. No one has tried to do me wrong directly, but I get revenge every day by living the best life I can and minding my own business. Story 37. I wouldn't say revenge, but just living your best life and having them realize they made a mistake feels pretty good. Not in a negative way, it's just external validation. Story 38. Felt great. She did not invite my wife to her wedding while pretending to be best friends. She expected an invite to our wedding. I was immediately rejected when she said she expected an invite and begged my wife to make me understand. Now she keeps her distance and only recently sent a cupcake quietly to celebrate her daughter's birth. Story 39. Felt great. She didn't invite my wife to her wedding while pretending to be best friends. She expected an invite to our wedding. I was immediately rejected when she said she expected an invite and begged my wife to make me understand. Now she keeps her distance and only recently quietly sent a cupcake to celebrate her daughter's birth. Story 40. I won but had my victory taken away by an outside party who decided to create drama in a situation that did not involve them in the slightest. It ruined everything, so I am not sure it counts. Story 41. It always feels good the second it happens, and that feeling dissipates as time goes by. It never lasts. Story 42. I don't care about revenge. I am more focused on myself and achieving my goals. I want to grow and make positive changes in my life. She wanted to regress and believed that being a single mother would solve her inner emotional turmoil. A child being the only one who would love her unconditionally, which I strongly disagreed with and told her was abusive at best. Now that I am single, I am happy doing things for myself again, and currently she is a few weeks pregnant by someone else. Story 43. A long time ago, a woman I had been in a relationship with did some truly vile and terrible things to me. In the aftermath, several people offered to help me get revenge in many ways, mostly illegal. For reasons I do not understand, I declined and took the high road. Initially, I struggled, and while I did, she seemed to be happy, living the life she wanted and dreamed of. As the years went by, her fake dream life collapsed, and she lives in a nightmare of her own making, bitter, angry, and with no way out. I built my own life. Certainly not a fairy tale, but pretty good. While I have my ups and downs like anyone else, I feel very satisfied with my life, accomplishments, goals, and future. All built from the ground up with good old-fashioned work. She is languishing with a stunted career, still living in the old house she got for free, with an estranged husband and 2 kids she will have to care for until she dies. She will never know success or freedom. Story 44. At a young age, my swim club abandoned me because I wasn't good enough. I then joined another club where I made better friends and they saw potential in me. Since every club hosts competitions, I eventually swam against my old club. It feels good to show them how much one can achieve when someone else believes in them. It feels good to swim away from someone I struggled to keep up with in my younger years. It feels good to win some events in their own pool. Story 45. I have never set a plan to get revenge. However, fate, karma, or whatever has given me revenge many times. Now, here is what is really weird. I didn't care. I had no sense of got you or anything like that. I just saw it as sad people getting what naturally comes to them. Here are 2 examples. A neighbor across the street moves in. My wife and I bring a welcome neighborhood gift, as we always do, and offer support if they ever need help. The man hands the gift back. A basket with bread, wine, and an assortment of purchased treats. Fine, maybe he is an alcoholic or gluten-free, all good. Then he adds a sneer and says, "We won't be needing anything from you." This is followed by 2 years of steadfastly ignoring all waves. In the Midwest, it is obligatory even to people who hate you, and pointedly ignoring us. The revenge. He applies for a middle management job at the company I own, not realizing I do. The administrator asks me to stop into the interview and say hi, as it is a project management job that interacts with everyone. The shock on his face when I stepped in made me sad for him. I said hi and shook his hand. He says, "Hey, aren't you my neighbor?" To which I say yes with a smile. I did not interfere, but he did not get the job. A few weeks later, I saw him across the street again. You guessed it. Still no wave or acknowledgement. Middle school was brutal for me. I was bused from my neighborhood to an 85% black school filled with violence and sadness. I was bullied constantly. An ultra-skinny, white kid with a big mouth, stubborn as hell, and no back down. While many joined, there were about 8 ringleaders. Over the course of my life, each of the 8 was presented to me in some way where I had power over them, as a janitor, juror, employee, or in the course of other duties. I always ignored our history and did my responsibilities. I was dismissed from jury duty. But there was a moment of recognition from each of them, and all were in some sad circumstance. There was no joy, just seeing the results of poor choices. It brought me no joy to be elevated over my bullies and to have them presented as failures. I have dozens more stories like this. Someone treats me badly to some degree, then I find them in a situation where I have some control over them. It is strange. I always try to be respectful and kind, neither giving them an edge nor taking them down. I let the chips fall where they will. Sometimes it seems like a personal test for me. Story 46. I don't know if I would count it as retaliation, but an ex dumped me because he thought the grass looked greener on the other side of the fence. Within a week, her roommate, who I didn't know well except through passing, came over and confessed her feelings for me. They weren't, "I'm head over heels in love with you," but more, "I think you're very attractive, let's be intimate." And yes, we did. Then I realized there were other girls I knew who were just waiting for us to break up so they could make their moves. I'm not sure if being intimate with several women after my ex dumped me counts as retaliation, but my brother and friends insisted it did. Anyway, it was a roller coaster for sure, but it was so long ago I don't really remember the feelings clearly. Story 47. After my ex-wife left me for a former friend, left me, acted without authority, was laid off the same week, and then lied to my therapist, I was able to get a little justice. She bailed on the yard sale, so I kept the money. I kept my former friend off my property during the move, and some high school students helped her move out. Then the moving truck got stuck in the front yard, which she had to fix in order to sell the house. My personal win was being able to out-negotiate her and confront her about every insecurity she had. I thought it felt great in the moment, but it really meant nothing, and I did not let go of the hate I had for her. It took 2 years for me to forgive her, for my own sake. She remains a manipulative person whom I wish harm on. I forgive her because she has always been that way, and I should have seen it coming. A scorpion will sting regardless of what you do. A few years ago, she ended up mailing me something my mother had made that she found. I emailed her a polite thank you. She tried to start a conversation, but I told her never to contact me again, which frustrates her because she is not liked. I do not care about her or her life. I am a much better person now, living a peaceful, mindful life. Story 48. There is mostly one right answer here, but not for everyone. The phrases "revenge is a dish best served cold" and "just live your best life is the best revenge" are spoken by those who have sought revenge and regretted it, and those who have no concept of the destruction a significant betrayal or wrongdoing can do to a person. Some people cannot simply forgive and forget, and the idea that healing is impossible without forgiveness has been proven wrong. We are programmed to desire revenge. In my opinion, the best revenge is post-traumatic growth. Revenge made me feel like I was teaching the person a lesson for their wrongdoing. In the moment, it felt great. In the end, it changed absolutely nothing and prolonged my healing. This is a lesson many need to experience, as there are no words that can stop the lust for justice. Story 49. I wanted revenge on my ex for lying to me about our dead children still being alive so that she could collect child support and maintain control over me. This was a woman to whom I dedicated 11 years of my life and made huge sacrifices for. When Child Protective Services investigated and discovered the truth about my daughters, she ended up going to jail for 6 months. When she got out, I wanted revenge and thought of many awful things to hurt her. In the end, I decided to sit down with her and finally get some answers. She had recently married a man she had known less than a year, including her time in jail. She was miserable because her family did not trust her. She hated being with her husband, and she had a felony on her record, making it hard to do anything without support. I filed to have the restitution she owed me commuted and gave her a goodbye hug. There was nothing I could have done to hurt her more than she had hurt me, but I know her ability to recover from the pain she endured was not as strong as mine. I did not get revenge, but I was able to show her forgiveness, which is what I actually needed. Story 50, typical revenge story, an ex. But it wasn't direct revenge. I had healed and moved on pretty quickly. She was still criticizing me to my friends any chance she got. She ended up pregnant a few months later, and the guy left her to be a single mother. That sucks, I know, and I felt for her. I truly did. I still do. But she wasn't the best person. She did not treat me right, and I did what I needed to do to avoid spiraling into a total mental breakdown. Sometimes just growing and moving on is enough. I think that is the underlying reason she continued to judge my character and bring me down any chance she could. Not once did I ever speak badly about her to anyone. Story 51. Honestly, great then and great now. I won't lie about it. It was deserved, and it's not like I did anything crazy. Story 52. The only revenge I approve of is one of anarchy or resurgence against a tyrant. Other than that, petty revenge gets you nowhere and does not feel rewarding. Story 53. I put my sister's life-size doll in my brother's school bag. When he opened it, his class erupted with laughter. He still does not know that I did it. Story 54. My freshman year, I set a pick in a basketball game at state against one of our biggest rivals. We had split the season series with them, one win each. They had a point guard who was a senior and known for dirty play. He was known for low blows, undercutting people and poking them in the eyes. He hit me in the groin the second time we played. He tore his hamstring trying to run around or through the screen I set while they were pressing at state. It was one of the wildest plays I have ever seen, but I still strongly dislike that player for all the dirty actions he pulled. Story 55, the best. I hate when people say, karma will come back to bite them. Karma is slow, and I want it now. People say, don't look for revenge, turn the other cheek. But just like Uncle said, that's in the Bible, and I'm not in the Bible. I'm getting my lick back. Reflection, mission success. I live perfectly fine. I sleep great every night. Story 56. I don't know if revenge is the best word. More like karmic revenge. My ex-stepmother. I developed bipolar disorder. She worked in mental health and knew what was happening to me, yet talked my father out of getting me any help because she was jealous that I was doing better than her kids in school. This resulted in 2 suicide attempts, dropping out of college, becoming homeless, and severe alcoholism for 3 years. On top of that, she was incredibly abusive to me. I won't go into detail as I don't want to go to bed angry. Here is what happened to her. After her divorce from my father, her family learned what she had done to me. She was disowned and completely disinherited. She burned through the divorce money within the first year. Her eldest son moved across the country and went no contact. She ended up having to have a double mastectomy and hysterectomy because being a cancerous person actually gave her cancer. Word spread about what she did. She worked in schools for children with behavioral and emotional issues. That's how she knew I was bipolar. Nobody would hire her. Nobody. She lives in subsidized housing, living off her younger son who has special needs. He was autistic and could have had a totally normal life, but she babied him his entire life. When she dies, he will be in trouble. He works retail. She has no family, no friends, has gained 200 pounds, and no one wants her. Me? I got diagnosed, medicated, went back to school, earned 2 degrees and a trade certificate. I got a job starting at $65,000. I'm pushing 7 years sober, own a house, and have a great girlfriend. I didn't have to do anything to her to get my revenge. I just improved myself and let her crash and burn by her own doing. Story 57. I was dealing with a group of racist people. My revenge was practical. I took away a basic comfort and watched them consequently lose control. When they realized that I could control something they needed, it was glorious. Revenge is a dish best served cold, especially when you need heat. Story 58. I am not sure if you could call it revenge, but I was blamed for breaking a workmate's thermos flask, and he kept insisting that I replace it. So I did. He is a Hearts fan, so I bought the biggest green thermos flask I could afford. His bitter rivals, Hibernian, play in green. Before giving it to him, I rubbed my skin on the rim of the flask, the stopper, and inside both cups. I felt great every time I saw him drink from the flask and cups. Only I and this Reddit thread know what I did. Story 59. I used to be a very vengeful person in real life. I spoke harshly to people, male or female, who had gone out of their way to betray me. I don't hold grudges against women who treated me poorly in bad relationships, but if they hurt me deeply, I cut all contact with them forever. About 15 years ago, after a small group of former friends spread false rumors about me, I let them know that I intended to damage their reputations as they had damaged mine. Not physically, but in any way I could. They even called the police on me, and I was warned not to harass them again. I have not. However, I once encountered someone indirectly involved in the situation who was spreading the same lies. I had just enough alcohol in me to break his nose and insult his girlfriend, who was assisting him in the deceit. I do not often use such language. Now, I leave things alone. If someone brings up past issues, I tell them I am ready to confront it whenever they are, and they usually remain silent. Good. I am older now, have had my previous driving under the influence and personal injury charges expunged, and I do not want any more drama. I avoid it. Some of those people have since died or experienced terrible hardships, and I am satisfied with that outcome. I have mostly let go, though I admit I feel some satisfaction when they suffer or face consequences due to their own bad choices. However, I do take action against difficult coworkers through union efforts and human resources complaints when necessary. Story 60. The crimes. When I was in the United States Air Force working on F-15 avionics, we had a shift lead who, to keep things brief, was the worst. He regularly disobeyed orders from above and put the rest of us in real life-threatening danger. He threw everyone else under every bus he could find while routinely breaking the law under the Uniform Code of Military Justice himself. Instead of punishing him, our supervisors sought to remove him from the equation by promoting him away. They put him in a cushy desk job where he was out of their hair, but he still caused problems for the rest of us at every chance. The setup. During my time working under his supervision, I had to accomplish some training for which he was the only available person who could certify me. I spent 2 hours trying to get any of the 5 items certified. None of them were signed off. Instead, he lectured me on one specific system and scolded me for not knowing all its capabilities. I left the office and reread the training manual on the system and could find none of the things he talked about. The revenge. Fast forward a year, and I was at a new base getting my top secret clearance. I was learning all the classified aspects of my job. When they briefed me on the secret capabilities of a certain system, I stated, "I already know this." The security manager reacted negatively. I explained exactly what had happened and even had the exact date because of other training that had been signed off that day. For those unfamiliar, information classified as top secret must not be shared with anyone without proper clearance. I did not have that clearance when that person was telling me about it and failing me for not knowing it, and he was fully aware of that fact. Also, even between two people with clearance, you cannot discuss classified information outside of special soundproof vaults, which we were absolutely not in. These requirements are not just simple rules. They are law. Violating them is a felony. While enforcement is rare, breaking those rules is a major infraction that can easily result in losing your clearance at a minimum. When I gave our security manager the person's name, rank, duty station, position, and had names and dates for the violation, he took it very seriously. Not being in our normal chain of command, he had no interest in protecting the person's career. I signed a sworn affidavit, and that was that. The punishment. A few months went by, and I had nearly forgotten about my report when I started hearing through the grapevine what happened. The F-15 maintenance community is a small, tight-knit career field. He lost his clearance over the infraction, which meant he couldn't keep his cushy desk job. He was reassigned to hard labor, but since he lost his clearance, he couldn't serve as shift lead anymore. He struggled before they finally transferred him to an undesirable office job, which was a total career killer. He gained 50 to 100 pounds and was eventually discharged for fitness failures. There were even rumors he was getting divorced. I hold deep resentment for him. He nearly got us killed, made unfounded accusations that could have led to arrests, turned an already tough job into torture, and ruined lives. I am convinced he played a major role in the suicide of one of our coworkers. Then and now, I hope he faces severe consequences and am glad I disrupted his dream of becoming a senior enlisted leader. Story 61. At least one study has been done on that topic. It concluded that revenge does not make you feel better afterward. Rather, it has the opposite effect. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.